Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
Hey, it's Bruce Prichard, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with, Bruce Prichard. Our special guest this week is here to talk about December to mismember that they weren't at. And tell everybody who you are, sir.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm great. But we're not really doing the member to December.
We're not? What are we doing?
We're not. No, we're not doing that. I told you last week I wasn't there. I think, this is what I think. All right? Instead, I think that we should review this great movie that came out. It's called Armageddon. Steven Tyler was in it. Bruce Prichard was in it. All kinds of people were in it. You remember that movie?
I think
I could spend a lifetime here inside your I don't know the words. Just to say. And they had little giraffes in it and shit. Little mini giraffes in it, on the belly and shit. I got it all, man. You name it, I got it.
Well, there we go. Didn't expect that this morning. Well, hey, man.
I'm unexpectable.
Okay. I didn't know that was a word, but I'm going to start using it. I really like that. Unexpectable.
I'm unexpectable, by God. Dude.
So.
Hey, you just sell out the Superdome when you was born 3.5 hours after you was born.
I did not.
So fuck you.
That's true.
All right.
By the way, that is basically a sampling of what it's like to be friends with Michael Hayes.
Well, shit.
How many times has he asked you about selling out the Superdome?
I think only about 7,904 times. Maybe the fifth time was to a group of us, but me personally, 7,504.
Well, so there you go.
Here we go. How the hell are you doing?
Man, better than I deserve. Excited to be here. Thanksgiving's in the rearview mirror. I finally got those turkeys finished that I was trying to cook in the middle of last week's show. It was a big hit. And now I'm ready to talk about 15 years ago WWE.
Can I ask you a question about Thanksgiving?
Oh, man. Ask as many as you'd like.
How many turkeys you have?
I did 2, and for Christmas, I'll be doing 3.
Okay, so I did 2 too. But we didn't have nearly the clan that you had at your house.
Clan? I'm from the South. You can't say clan around here.
Okay, well, you know what? Think what you want to, folks. He had a clan over at his house.
Hey, no, don't do that.
And so I did 2 as well.
You had a clan over.
Huh?
You said you did as well, so you had a clan over.
No, I cooked 2 turkeys.
Oh.
I live in the Northeast, man. What the
Bruce,
fuck?
take your pills. That was old school right there.
Boy, I'm telling you.
How are your pills? Our longtime listeners want to know.
Oh, they're good, man. Everything's good.
That's good. We're glad to hear it. We're pulling for the pills.
I like pills, but I already took them. Damn it. So anyway, I cooked 2 turkeys. Now we had the one where we served everybody, dinner.
Yeah.
It's quite nice, quite tasty. But I like leftovers, Conrad.
Who doesn't? Especially Thanksgiving.
I love my Thanksgiving turkey. So I always cook second turkey because I don't feel that there's enough left over for me, because my wife feels that she has to give guests like a bunch of leftovers.
Right.
Feels that we always have too much. So I always cook an extra turkey, leave it off to the side, and then I carve that sumbitch at the end of the night.
Yeah, buddy.
And I put it in the damn fridge so that I can have my turkey sandwiches or my plate of turkey with some stuffing and some gravy, and just enjoy that for about 3 days after Thanksgiving. Well, let me tell you what happened.
I can't wait. What happened?
I left. I went and did SmackDown, wherever the hell I was. I don't really remember, but I did it.
Long Island, probably.
And then I came home and I worked out the next morning, bright and early, and came home because I worked out really hard because I knew that I was going to get home and I was going to treat myself to a big ass turkey sandwich. I got home. I went in the fridge. Last time I'd seen that turkey that I had carved an entire bird. That bag wasn't there. So you know me, because I'm a charming son of a bitch. I'm sure that in my head it went down something like, "Excuse me, dear, but I don't seem to see the turkey in the refrigerator. Might you happen to know where it may have been placed?"
Now here's what really happened, and I wasn't even there. God damn it, Stephanie! I just put this fucking turkey in this refrigerator, had its own bag. I cooked the second one for this very reason, and now it's not in there. What'd you do? Give it to Dodger? See? He don't even eat turkey. He eats solid gold, and everybody knows that. Where's the goddamn turkey, Amber? Something like that.
Something like that. And so she tells me where it is. I said, it's not in the fucking drawer. It's not there. So she gets up. She comes over, very frustrated, I might add, to show me exactly where the turkey is. And I watch her. Because sometimes, like, she'll hide shit. I think she hides shit. This is what I think she does. I think she hides shit from me, and then she comes in and finds it, or, like, she'll bring it with you and take it out of her sleeve and find it just to make me look like I didn't look or something. Sure. I know that's what she does.
Yeah, I get that.
But now she's looking through there, and guess what?
What?
There is no bag of turkey.
What?
She can't find it.
Oh.
Now I'm livid. And I start calling people. And I call my daughter. Of course, she doesn't answer. And I call my son, and he doesn't answer. And I said, "Hey, urgent, extremely important. Call me now." He did. He sends a text. I'm at work. I said, "Did you take my goddamn turkey that was in the fridge?" He says, "Yeah, I brought it to work to snack on." An entire turkey.
Yep.
That I'd carved for me to have sandwiches. They always complain about leftovers. I like the leftovers. So I was very grumpy that Saturday after Thanksgiving. Very, very grumpy. And I know that's hard to believe. I know that people at home were sitting right there riding in their cars and they're going, wait, Bruce grumpy? Can't happen. Am I right? Am I right?
I mean, I've never even heard of you being grumpy, if I'm honest.
There you go. Never. You never seen it.
No. I mean, I've never even heard stories of it, unless it was from a known liar, you know. Yeah,
well, okay. See, there you go. That's a good point. Good point.
So inquiring minds want to know, did Kane bring home any turkey, or did he eat it all?
Not a sliver.
He ate the entire turkey and didn't save you any.
Exactly.
When's Kane going to have to find his own place, do you think?
Well, once he finds where his clothes and all of his belongings are, maybe he'll stay there.
So you to retaliate from this turkey chaos.
No, I do not retaliate.
Okay. To give a receipt for this turkey and
Oh
fraction.
yeah, but here's the thing: when you go give a receipt, I find literally half of my clothes in his bedroom.
Wait, he's wearing your clothes?
Yeah.
Y'all wear way different sizes.
Well, like my sweatshirts and sweatpants and things like that, my shorts and
he just took from you.
yes.
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. You really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com. Is that basically your experience as a father, that your kids just take, and then there's nothing left for poor old dad?
Yes. Yeah. Amber calls it going shopping.
What, coming into your closet is going shopping?
My closet and getting shit. She goes, I'm going shopping right now. And then she'll go in my closet and just take shit for her and her boyfriend. Like the other day, man, I'm sitting there and she's showing me a picture. The guy walks in wearing, I used to be overshirt. I said, no, you didn't. And unless you paid for that and didn't get a call from me, no, you didn't.
Well.
Yeah, that's my life. That's what my life has become.
You should start charging the kids for meet and greets.
I should.
I think you should.
But I'd go broke because they are hardly ever here to meet me or greet me.
Well, I didn't say quit your job. I think you should keep your job.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mean like just charging the kids would be your new full-time gig.
Oh, well, I was hoping.
Well, Bruce, thanks for the catch up on Turkey Day. I guess the follow-up question, or the natural, is, do you think you're going to do 3 turkeys for Christmas?
No, but I'm going to hide the leftover.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm going to put it in a lockbox.
Well, boys and girls, we are going to attempt to talk about Armageddon 2006. We've sort of been going episodically through 06 this year and 1996, but when it comes to 06, we have briefly covered the December to Dismember episode or show on our WWE CW episode, where we talked about really the end of Paul Heyman in the WWE here, at least for a bit, on the heels of that disaster of a show.
Well, I mean, let's talk about what we know. Okay. At least so we can give them a little bit of that.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, what was the card? Was that the Elimination Chamber?
Yes.
Okay. So, as I told you the other day, I went to TV, and I actually had this talk with somebody last night. In general, God, it's a small world, small time frame. But the December to December,
something like that.
What's that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that one, the Iswa show. I had some teeth problems going on, and like my face was all swollen up real bad, and I was in a lot of pain, and I was out of painkillers because I got like dry socket type gimmick going on, which is very painful if you've ever had your wisdom teeth pulled or shit like that. And even Stephanie McMahon felt very sorry for me looking at me because I was miserable, but I was there, by God. And she says, Bruce, what's going on with you? And I told her and showed her the thing. She goes, get out of here. Go. And we were thinking Grand Rapids, Michigan. We were in wherever Amway is. And I was at the Amway Hotel, which, if you ever get an opportunity to stay, is a very nice hotel off their campus there. And was able to get a prescription filled so that I could get out of pain a little bit. And then got a driver to drive me to Detroit, Michigan, so that I could take a nonstop flight home. So I never saw December to Mismember to December. And I don't think I could tell you anything about it. Sorry. But that's why.
So Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon are going to split afterwards. And this is the third time. Obviously, it's not the last. Do you ever talk to Paul about this era of his run with WWE where it felt like he was sort of on again, off again with Vince?
Yeah, I mean, from time to time. I think it was a combination of things that A, Vince was done, and B, I think Paul had also burnt out in that very, very much like Bill Watts and Bill Watts had gone from having his own company to working for Turner and having to answer to someone, and that's a different gig altogether. And Paul, I think, being able to had no checks and balances at ECW, and now all of a sudden he has checks and balances in Vince, and he's got to change his ways as far as that goes. And I think that just didn't work out. I mean, it was just kind of a clash of styles, a clash of personalities, and I think Paul was phoning it in and didn't really care, because as soon as Vince would knock anything down, they became oil and water. Just didn't work.
So something else coming out of Armageddon is Big Show was going to take some time off to get his body right, and with his contract coming up, he's not going to return to the WWE until February. Was it time for Big Show to maybe go and learn a new hold?
Big Show was beat up, man. First of all, I couldn't imagine being a 7-foot, 400-pound giant. That's a big man.
Yeah.
And the wear and tear on his body is a lot different than the wear and tear on a 200-pounder or a 250-pounder. So the best thing for Big Show to do at the time was heal up, go get some rest, get your body right, and come back in a different way.
What did you think of, and I know we briefly touched on it before, but Big Show's really going to take like a year off here from February 07 to February of 2008. In between time is when they at least tease the idea that maybe he's going to do some sort of match in 2007, or I think it was late April, with Hulk Hogan. And that was all happening in the Memphis area.
Yeah, that's when he dropped his slave name of Big Show.
Well, that's an interesting phrase.
Well, that was his quote at the press conference.
Oh, that's right. You know, I'm looking at it here. He said Big Show was his slave name and he did not want to be owned anymore. Were you surprised to see him and Hogan try to do something outside of WWE here in 07?
Not really, because Big Show had a lot of admiration for Hulk Hogan and they were friends. And to Big Show, you know, Hulk was the guy that gave him his first break and was able to come in and deem him the giant and work a program that, you know, kind of made people reminisce about the Hogan Andre issues throughout the years. So I think there was a bit of loyalty on the part of Big Show towards Hogan. So it didn't surprise me at all.
You're building up 3 events at this time. You're starting to prep for the Royal Rumble. You've still got Armageddon. And on the Raw side, you're working on the New Year's Day Raw with Cena versus Federline. It's got to be kind of hard for Armageddon to not get lost in the shuffle, especially if you've got, you know, a guy like Paul Heyman leaving. Creatively, it just feels like that's going to stretch you even more thin. Would I be wrong in assuming that?
No, because I think by this time, I think Paul had pretty much checked out. So it was almost addition by subtraction.
So there's talk in the Observer that Rob Van Dam is openly complaining after the ECW pay-per-view, and with his contract coming due, it's assumed that he's going to be leaving after the failure to sort of launch that ECW brand. It was a pretty quick fall from grace from Rob Van Dam. Was it really all about, you know, the arrest and suspension that happened really right as he took off that did this to him, do you think? Or did he take the whole ECW thing not being the experiment, shall we say, not being a bigger success, harder than others maybe?
No, I think that, Rob was ready. I think Rob had done his time. It wasn't having as much fun. The ECW experiment, if you will. I don't know if that hastened it at all. That was a good excuse to use, but I don't think that that was a real reason.
He's probably just burnt out on the road and the lifestyle. I mean, in that era, obviously things are different in the COVID world, but the schedule and the travel is what we hear more often than not, that guys were like, oh man, had a lot of fun, but that part was hard.
Yeah. It's funny. Guys that were on the road for 360 days a year that felt that schedule was just what it was. That was a grueling schedule. And then when guys are on the road for 150 days a year, oh my God, the schedule. And then guys are on the road for 50 days a year. It's like, oh my God, how do they expect me to work beyond this? In that regard, I think it always comes in cycles depending upon how well business is. If business is great, for 360 days a year, it's the greatest time of your life. If business isn't great, oh my God, they're working me too hard.
Well, let's talk about the Observer here. Quote, with things changing, it seems every hour, the last word after TV was no long-term plans are being formulated for either the Hardys or Eminem. Vince has changed his mind a few times, which is why Joey Styles on the ECW broadcast talked about it being the last time they would be together, and then they were in the Raw main event the next day. If Vince decides to go with both as tag teams, the tentative idea is that they will both be used on Raw. If they're singles, Mercury goes to ECW and Matt back to SmackDown. I know the Hardys were under the impression they were going to be kept together, at least for the short run, and Eminem had the impression they were not going to be. Heyman came up with the idea of putting Eminem back together and wrestling the Hardys because he knew he needed a strong wrestling match on the pay-per-view. And it was at the time supposed to be a 1-week thing for the Hardys and one show for Eminem. Of course, plans change, pal, but it does seem like the brand extension might be actually hindering creative here. You got guys bouncing from show to show and in different roles on them. On Raw, Johnny Nitro is helping Kevin Federline against Cena, but on SmackDown, he's teaming with Joey Mercury. When you think back in this era, does this, it's the way you remember it, feel a little strained?
I think there was a lot of trial and error. So, yeah, it was a little strange because rules were broken every hour. It felt like, where you went, no, you're never going to do that again. Oh, well, hey, what about if we did this? Great. So the rules were constantly in flux and changing. So you kind of had to roll with the flow and just take what you had and make the most that you could out of it.
The WWE goes to Iraq for the Tribute to the Troops special. How special was the Tribute to the Troops for Vince? It feels like this was priority number one for him for a long time.
This will, without a doubt, Tribute to the Troops was one of the most, I think, prestigious in many ways. I never got to go on one of those overseas Tribute to the Troops, and I always wanted to. My dad, my brothers were in the service, and I just wanted to do that. It was a priority because it was an opportunity to be able to give back to those who sacrifice their lives for us each and every day and that protect our freedoms. So anything that we could do to help those guys, especially those that were on the front line at that time, we would do. And it was a huge show. I mean, it was a huge show with a lot of meaning to be able to give back to our servicemen and everyone out there who has ever served our country. Thank you.
From the Observer, quote, with Heyman out, here's how the creative team stands right now in the basic depth chart. Raw has Brian Gerwitz as the lead, and Koski and Dave Kapoor will also be on his team. SmackDown.
Gerwitz. He don't like Gerwitz. He's Gewirtz.
SmackDown is led by Michael Hayes, We've also got Dusty Rhodes, Court Bauer, and Christopher DeJoseph. On the ECW side of things, it's Dave Lagana, who's the interim lead writer. And boy, I'm going to struggle with this last one.
Pants.
Okay. And tell me about Pants. That's a name we haven't heard a lot about.
He was a writer's assistant. That's all he was.
Okay. But do you have anything you can add to this person?
His one big contribution was he had an idea. What if I play Cancer? What if we had a character called Cancer? And they just kill everybody.
That's really not a good one there.
Yeah, and I wanted to kill him because as he's talking about it, my wife was having a battle with cancer. So, yeah, fuck him. He was just a production assistant, meant nothing. DJ and Michael, for the most part, were really doing SmackDown. Brian and Ed were doing Raw. I guess Lagana would format ECW. And then I kind of had to work on both Raw and SmackDown.
Tell me about Dave Kapoor.
Dave was just on the Raw team as a writer at that time. Dave had come in. I think that Dave had just gotten there. So Dave was like pretty young on the team in 2007.
How about Dusty working with Michael Hayes on SmackDown? That seems like that would have been fun to sit in on.
Yeah, Dusty was Dusty, and Dusty and Michael got along just fine. It was the issue with that was I think that Dusty and Michael in a lot of ways were too close to being the same when you are looking at the product. I think you need different. You need opposing views a lot of times. But Dusty was Dusty, and Dusty did a good job with the stuff that he had. But Dream was an idea guy. Dream wasn't a worker bee.
Court Bauer, we hear a lot about him these days with MLW, but what about him from a WWE standpoint? What was that like?
Court pretty much handled our travel and would book the travel, and he was like the first member of the home team that he didn't travel with us. He traveled with us, I think, maybe 4 times maybe. I don't really recall that much because I wasn't in the office all the time, but from my experience, he handled the travel and was pretty much the first like at home, stay at home, not go on the road rider that we had.
So Booker is suffering through some back injuries. He's also opening a wrestling school and a promotion in Texas. What did you think Booker was aiming to do or hoping to do here? Was he starting to think about, hey, what am I going to do when I wind down my in-ring?
Yeah. Booker had this vision, still does have this vision of wanting to be a promoter, wanting to be the, promoter in Houston, Texas of wrestling. So he opened up his school, Reality of Wrestling. They recorded shows. God, what was the, that doesn't matter, but he used to shoot TV at the Clear Lake Civic Center or something like that. And he would record it and put shows together and put them out there wherever the hell he could. But Book had a school. Book had a good little school. Still does. Book has a great school. And still doing TV to this day and keeps growing Reality of Wrestling, and they're doing a hell of a job. And that was Book's dream. But Book at this time, I think the injury bug was getting to him and just sore and tired.
And Booker's actually cranked out some stars that, some of our listeners may have actually heard of. So, if you haven't already, go out of your way to check out Reality of Wrestling. I know it's been, something that you've been paying attention to for a long time. And once upon a time, you'd go hang out and check out the shows and the whole deal, right?
Absolutely.
So, we want to mention too that, Cena is going to be moving over to SmackDown for another one night only appearance because the show's in Boston. but it was never advertised, which leads Meltzer to believe the show only drawing 5,500 was the result of that. You know, when you've got a big surprise like that, or I guess that's what I'm trying to ask. Do you value the surprise over the bump in business, or should you always err on, well, let's do what's best for business and not worry about the surprises or creative or what have you?
That's a tough question. It really depends on what the value of that surprise is versus the value of getting out in front of it and everyone know that person's going to be there. So it becomes a catch-22 sometimes. I have always been one of, I like to promote. I like to let people know what they're going to get as much as we can and try to get those names out there. So, or at least a hint, for God's sake.
Undertaker and Kennedy are going to continue their program with Taker using hearses to freak Kennedy out. Kennedy's cutting promos on how he's beaten Taker twice now, doesn't have anything left to prove. And to keep the Kennedy push going, it feels like it's necessary eventually for Taker to get his win back. Let's keep it going here. Cena and Batista are going to stand tall over Finlay and Booker on SmackDown. And it seems like Cena being on SmackDown might actually be a thing moving forward. Is this the era where Cena's schedule just started to get nutty? I mean, there was a run there where it felt like Cena was on every WWE thing for years. Radio, media, any sort of public appearance, but also every house show, every TV, every pay-per-view. Is this when Vince started to think, hey man, just add Cena?
Well, John was over, and John also had the desire, the wherewithal to do that. John wanted to do every single thing that he possibly could do and did it well. So when you're looking at what you have and who you have, John Cena was always first and foremost in everyone's mind because John wanted to make everything, and John never phoned it in. He would always go out and have fun, always go out and put out the most effort. So if you put John on the card and you put John anywhere, he was going to deliver. That was just a done deal.
So there's an interesting match announced for Armageddon on this SmackDown. Paul London and Brian Kendrick defending the tag titles against William Regal and Dave Taylor. And we know that match doesn't actually wind up happening. But Bruce, I understand things change, pal, blah, blah, blah. But goodness gracious, this is announced on a Tuesday and it's changed by Sunday. When you hear that, do you think most likely injury, or did someone raise their hand and say, hey, what if, and just had a better idea?
I think it was just a better idea.
Is there a concern though that, after you've spent all this time promoting something on TV, even if it was just that one day, you dedicated valuable TV time, and now we're not going to deliver it pay-per-view wise? Or do you say, how many people were paying to see this Dave Taylor match anyway?
Well, that's my point. Okay. When you look at that, how many people are going to go buy that event for that match, and how many are going to miss it?
The rest of the card is announced as an Inferno match between Kane and MVP, Miz versus Boogeyman, and Ken Kennedy against the Undertaker in a last ride match.
Conrad, you're from Alabama.
Yep.
Did you ever hear of the Infernos?
I knew about these Inferno matches. Yes.
Well, the
oh, you mean the old tag team?
The tag team from the 60s.
Yes, I've at least heard of them. Can't say that I know much of their work.
Well, one of them was an Alabamian or somebody from down there in the southeast, old Frankie Kane, Great Mephisto, and he had a club foot.
So his foot liked to party, or what does that mean?
Yeah, well, it was shorter. His one leg was shorter than the other, so he would build up his boot, and he would tap the toe of that boot. And I know I've told the story about Terry Funk in the studio and them chasing the Infernos out and getting that clubfoot Inferno, and holding him down and taking his boot off to find out what was inside that boot, that when you tapped the toe and you got kicked in it, and what it would do to a man's forehead. And Terry told that story. And he talked about how, by God, when you get kicked in the head, it felt like a sledgehammer. And when we got the boot, we found there was a trap door, so that when Inferno number 2 would tap the end of his toe, 2 pounds of lead would go to the front of the boot, and then he would kick you in the head. Have you ever been kicked in the head with 2 pounds of lead? Well, I have, and this right here, all these stitches in my head are the result of the Inferno number 2's 2 pounds of lead. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. I've got the boot now, and I'm gonna wear it at the El Paso Civic Center, and I'm gonna kick you in the head with 2 pounds of lead. See how you like it.
I love you for that, Bruce.
And your mother's a whore.
When was the last time you got to talk to Mr. Funk?
When Vicky passed, when his wife passed.
You should call him today.
I should. I probably will. But Terry was such a great storyteller, and the thing to me was that what was confusing about that was if he had 2 pounds of lead in his boot, right?
That's what I heard.
And so you tap the toe, the lead would go down there, then you tap it on the heel to take it back. But how could they not feel that in the heel? And wouldn't it hurt more if they kicked you with the heel of that motherfucker?
That seems.
I mean, hypothetically.
That seems logical.
Seems logical, but it just wasn't. And then when Terry tapped it and he kicked that Inferno, it split his mask wide open.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. 2 pounds of lead. And but when Terry went to kick it back, he didn't get it kicked back, and the referee found it. So Terry was disqualified.
Tremendous. Well, let's pick back up where we were here as we're building
the Inferno match.
I wanted to ask Miz and Boogeyman.
They were in the Inferno match?
I mean, do you think Miz and Boogeyman it's a main event anywhere in America?
Absolutely.
Armageddon happens from Richmond, Virginia, December 17th, 2006. There's 8,200 fans there. 7,100 of them were paying $423,500. It did pretty decent on pay-per-view, better than maybe you remember. 239,000 pay-per-view buys, which is a lot more than we hear about these days. The 05 Armageddon show featured Randy Orton and The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell. So the year prior had a pretty decent main event, right? 320,000 buys too. So it is a pretty substantial drop, but it feels like since we've got December to Dismember and this show, we're really trying to split our audience a little bit here. And I don't think that gets talked about because even though that was a terrible show, you had 2 pay-per-view offerings in the same month from the same company. So you're asking for a lot, right?
Too much.
Yeah.
I just think it was too much product thrown at everybody too soon.
The readers of the Wrestling Observer had this 73.4% voted as a thumbs up, which keeps the SmackDown pay-per-view streak of good shows going. In this era, sort of the infancy of the brand split or the early years of the brand split, did you feel like one was a stronger television product and another was a stronger pay-per-view product, or maybe one brand did better on house shows or what have you?
I think they were pretty equal on house shows. I think SmackDown and maybe it's just because throughout the two shows, I always concentrated more on SmackDown. So I always felt that SmackDown was a better show. Not to say that Raw wasn't great, but it was. I thought SmackDown. If I had to choose one, I'd choose SmackDown.
So let's get into the show. The Inferno match. They built it as 6-foot flames surrounding the ring. Meltzer would say the flames were closer to 1 foot high. Although if someone took a big bump, they would momentarily get to the level of the top rope.
Which is about how high?
Well, I get where you're going.
Yeah, 6 feet and higher.
Well, I mean, the top rope is not 6 feet. When the Undertaker steps over the top rope, that doesn't make him 12 feet tall.
From where the flames were, it was 6 feet.
Buddy, I just want to talk about how silly this is and how dangerous it is.
Why is it silly? It's a goddamn Inferno match. You're surrounded by a wall of flames. It's being like you're in Dante's Inferno. There is no escape. You must walk through the flames if you can. And if you attempt it and you get set on fire, then guess what, pal? You're done. You're burnt. It's over.
Hypothetically.
Not silly fucking light a table on fire and go through it for no reason whatsoever. No, it was you actually set your opponent on fire very safely. And
you set them on fire safely. Okay.
There's a way to do it.
Well, I'm sure that what you're referencing about the flaming table, you're talking about when the Dudleys did it, right?
Yes, I couldn't stand it. It made no sense.
Is a pro tip if you're going to go through a flaming table to wear a t-shirt?
Well, it's probably a good idea. I just, to me, it was just in the middle of a match. Was it spectacular? Sure, it was spectacular. But I just didn't get it because it's like, okay, now I've got you beat. But first, hang on, let me get a table. Now let me put lighter fluid on it. Now let me set it on fire. But now I'm going to go through it.
I think what makes more sense would be if we brought in a bunch of dirt and we dug a hole and we buried one of the guys alive.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then maybe if one of the guys in particular had lightning strike his casket that was on fire, he could ascend to heaven or something.
I've seen it happen, man.
Oh God, I love you.
I've witnessed it. I'm witness. The Lakewood Church where Joel Osteen does his Sunday services. There ain't Joel Osteen followers out there. I'm not busting on Joel Osteen. I actually like Joel. The rest of his family, I don't know, but I like Joel. I thought I was entertained, very entertained by Joel, and I liked his dad. But a few years ago, they had a theft from the church, $600,000, and a plumber in repairing a toilet this week found $400,000 in the walls of Lakewood Church. And at the time, they were offering $25,000 to anybody that had any knowledge that could lead to the arrest of the people that stole this. But this plumber finds the money and they won't give him a reward. He could have just taken it, man, and moved on. No, he turned every penny in. How the fuck did I get off on Joel Osteen?
I don't know. I was just going to lay out until you were done.
Never mind. I don't know. Okay.
You have to believe that these flames.
I'm coming to get you. Okay.
This is Bruce a little punchy.
This is Bruce a lot punchy, man. This is Bruce with about 2.5 hours sleep. When I texted you last night, that was just when we were landing. And then, anyway.
So at one point, MVP undoes a turnbuckle, and the pad at least, and sets it on fire. But he had to try twice because the first time he's trying to light up the pad and the flames go out on one side of the ring. So Kane stops him and the pad, which is now on fire, falls to the mat, which momentarily lights up. this is less than ideal. I mean, ultimately MVP is going to run around with the back of his ring outfit on fire until he's put out with a fire extinguisher. And they announce on the show that he was taken to a hospital. But of course that was all the work. But this whole stunt, we're playing with fire. Does any part of you think, I don't know if old Dory Funk Jr. and Jack Briscoe needed all this, or do you kind of dig this?
I dig it with the right people for the right reasons. I dig it if it's an issue that the idea is to keep someone in the ring that doesn't want to get burnt by fleeing the ring. I liked it for that. I liked it for Undertaker and Kane. Made sense. And at this point, I think it was kind of looking for a gimmick match to make it different. And Kane was all about fire. Inferno match.
The match gets 1 star. If you had to do over again, would you have scrapped the very idea of an Inferno match, like overall as a concept? As far as gimmick matches go, it feels like it's way down the list.
Depends on who it is. I would have scratched it for this match, I think.
I think this is the last one ever, though, is it not?
Yeah. Well, maybe a good reason for that.
You tried one in April of 98, Unforgiven, with The Undertaker and Kane. You tried it again on Raw in Chattanooga in 99 with Undertaker and Kane. And then we tried it with Triple H and Kane on SmackDown in Dallas later that same year, 1999. So we wait more than 7 years before we bring it back here. And that's the end.
Thank God. Because it was a pain in the ass to set up too.
Is that more, by and large, do you think that it was done away with because people realized as a concept it sucked, or the company started to become more and more PG and can't be showing kids dudes lighting each other on fire?
Well, I think that it was a combination of a lot of things. It was a very expensive match to put together. It was very, the potential for failure outweighs the positive outcome that could potentially happen. So I didn't feel that it was, I liked it for Undertaker Kane. I mean, to me, leave it at that. That was one special match and it worked.
Yeah.
And the rest of them, I think, were forces.
How nervous was your boy MVP about, so what if we just set you on fire?
Well, fuck. I set myself on fire every night trying to light my cigarettes from the wrong end. Dude.
Was he nervous?
How many
about
times
this?
you ever sell out the fucking Superdome? I was in the womb. And my mama announced me coming out and it sold out the Superdome. Dude.
What do you think MVP thought of being lit on fire?
I think he was happy to be lit on fire. Who wouldn't be?
Okay. Well, there's
a fun
that.
spot.
Now the
I've
match
been lit on fire.
Now the match everybody here is excited to talk about. This entire show is stolen by a 4-team ladder match with the tag champs Kendrick and London keeping the titles against Regal and Taylor, as well as late additions Eminem and the Hardys. Meltzer would say the addition of...
Sorry.
You all right?
It's like my maracas.
But you know that we're recording right now.
Oh, shit.
People are going to hear this, you see.
Wait a minute. I thought we were just talking.
Oh. Well,
you just called me.
You didn't. You introduced us.
You need to be a little bit more clear.
You introduced me on the show. You opened the show today. This excuse won't work today.
Okay, let's do the show tomorrow.
Meltzer would say the addition of Eminem and the Hardys and the ladder stipulation was done late. It may have helped for a lackluster show had it been advertised, but the decision to go with it came late. I don't know that advertising that it's a ladder match or that you've got 2 more teams in there would have necessarily added anything or moved the needle much at the very last minute. But Regal and Taylor, not exactly ladder match guys, and now they find themselves in this spot here. ultimately, as we said, London and Kendrick get the win. Teddy Long's going to announce the ladder stipulation. The fans are chanting for the Hardys after they see the Eminem team come out. The Hardys are the clear crowd favorite, and that's probably not different these days. Meltzer would say it was telling that the two most over acts on a SmackDown pay-per-view were a tag team that isn't supposed to exist, featuring a guy on Raw and Cena. This was your classic car crash match. It was a series of stunts, which at the time told a little story, and at other times was just setting up a new crazy spot. They did a gimmick where Regal and Taylor were afraid of heights, so when they had the advantage, they would, particularly Regal. He would be so hesitant to climb that they'd blow the chance. Mercury was on top, and all the other wrestlers picked up the ladder from the bottom and it tipped over. He went flying over the top rope and crashed on a Nitro who broke his fall. There was a spot in the match where Jeff Hardy came off the top rope onto one side of the ladder for a teeter-totter spot that was about to take out both members of Eminem. It did the job too well as the ladder smashed into Mercury's nose and left eye. Blood was flying everywhere. It was clear his eyes would be swollen shut very quickly. Medical personnel rushed to the scene and got him backstage at what was a very scary scene. It's very rare to leave in the middle of the match, particularly in one that had more pre-planned spots involving him. In fact, not only did many aspects of the match at that point seem to have to be improvised, but Mercury was heavily involved in the planned finish, which was all done now on the fly. He's rushed to the hospital, diagnosed with 4 different fractures of the nose. He needed 5 stitches on the inside of the nose and cheek and 15 more stitches on the outside, as well as his left eye being swollen shut as of the next day. This is one of the more gruesome injuries we would ever see in WWE. And people would still be talking about this match, maybe for the in-ring performance, had it not been for that. But Lord, when it got hurt, man, it's all anybody remembers. What do you remember of this?
Well, I mean, from my vantage point, it was just horrible. It was ugly, and we were concerned. Having, been in a situation where Brock Lesnar kicked a wall into my face and not knowing if my eye was there, I was afraid because we looked and Joey's face was just a mask of blood, and no one could tell other than he was badly injured. So we immediately sent the trainer down to say, hey, go assess what the hell's going on in there and get him out of there. And Joey didn't want to go. Joey wanted to stay in the match. But the initial assessment, we looked at it and we got him back immediately and got him wrapped up because, again, there was the fear of losing his eye, and no one knew the extent of how bad this injury could be. So we called for an ambulance. And there's a law, like when you're in a building, okay? We always have, first of all, we have our own medical team there, but we also always have an ambulance service there. The building usually has an ambulance service, and they can double. So you can have the building and you can use it. The only thing is that you cannot, there always has to be an ambulance there. So if someone goes in the ambulance, that you've got to wait now for another ambulance to come and replace the ambulance that you're taking that person to the hospital in. So when you have a dangerous situation like this where someone is injured severely and you're looking at it and they're going, well, we got to wait for the next ambulance to get here. I was like, no, you need to go. And Stephanie McMahon came in. I remember Stephanie pounding on the window of the ambulance, just saying, you're going to go and you're going to go now. And they pulled up like they were going to go, but they didn't leave. And boy, that brought all of us out and eventually got them to leave. And the second ambulance showed up about 5 minutes later. But, it's scary stuff like that people don't understand. And that you got an ambulance there. Well, that ambulance can't leave till another one shows up. So now we try and do 2 ambulances so that our ambulance, if something happens, it can go.
That's crazy to think about. I would have never known.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's insanity, man. Especially when you know there's another ambulance on the way. It'll be here in 5 minutes, but no, I'm not going to leave here. And I guess by the word of the law that they can't, but it's very frustrating on the other side of that. And, Joey was a trooper. He was coherent the whole time and just nobody knew how bad it was going to be. And thankfully, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But it was an ugly one.
Johnny Nitro would later say, I happened to be looking up, so it hit me in the throat, but Mercury was looking straight at it and it hit him square in the nose and the orbital bone. It could have really been any one of us. I was just lucky that the ladder hit him first. And Matt Hardy would say, I'll always remember the match for what we did to Joey Mercury's face. After the seesaw, I remember hearing him yell, I'm bleeding. And it was like someone went to a sink and turned the faucet on. It was gruesome. And of course, the match must continue, but this creates absolute chaos, at least for a moment in the ring here, does it not?
Yeah, I mean, it did, but the guys kept going. And Joey, not knowing how serious his injuries are, is going along the thought process of, I got to finish the match. I'm just bleeding a little bit or a lot. But once we got him off there and once Larry got to him, it was like, no, we're pulling you from the match. You're coming back now. It was a very serious injury and just a crazy accident. And knock on wood, we're very fortunate that we haven't had more crazy injuries like that in some of those ladder matches, because you never know where those things are going to go.
Joey Mercury has been praised a lot as one of the more great wrestling minds. And I know that he had a run with WWE. He's going to be in and out for a while and various other promotions since then. But this is a pretty big injury here. And I know he's had some other challenges at different times. Do you think that his career trajectory with the WWE was ever the same after this injury? I mean, I know he did a lot of stuff behind the scenes and he was a part of Seth Rollins' crew on camera and working with the Authority. And I mean, I'm not saying he didn't have wrestling value, but it does feel like his in-ring career after this, I don't know. It feels like it became more and more what else he could contribute to wrestling. Am I making sense?
I think so. I didn't work with, obviously I didn't work with him after 2008. And so I really can't say as to what degree he was able to deliver on the other side of the coin, if you will, on the creative side and with his head. I never experienced that, so I can't really speak to it.
I want to mention that, he winds up being released from his WWE contract in March of the following year. Had a good run, a couple of years with Ring of Honor, and then he's back in 2010, I think in April. But a few years after that, man, he's going to start being a part of that J&J Security, him and Jamie Noble, and that was all good stuff. And anyway, 42, so we're pulling for him. Still a very, very young man. I think he's got a big old future in front of him. Kendrick does a sliced bread number 2, or he goes to do it with Regal off the top of the ladder, but Kendrick landed all wrong. Regal sells it like he's knocked out. Kendrick's hurting pretty bad, suffering a legitimate rib injury, and he's even foaming at the mouth here. London finally, in an improvised finish, climbs to the top for the win. 4 1/4 stars. I think Meltzer nailed it when he described this as a car crash. It's the most talked about, planned out situation ever when you've got a match like this and 8 different guys, but chaos ensues when a real injury happens. And I think this is worth going out of your way to see again, just because of what it is. What say you?
But we warn our listeners, the scenes you're about to see are gruesome.
Yeah, buddy.
You should warn your children. Parental guidance.
So next up, and this should come with a warning. Boogeyman pins the Miz in 2 minutes and 51 seconds with a tree slam. Meltzer would say the only thing entertaining about the match was Miz, and doing his promo, mentioned that the angle that led to this on Thursday Night SmackDown. It's always good to see these guys who claim to live and die with wrestling not even realize the show's been moved to Friday now for more than a year. Boogeyman is nowhere near as over as he was before the injury. This was the level of a bad independent match. Boogeyman spit worms into Miz's mouth after the match. Dud. Boy, the Miz has made a lot of chicken salad in his career, but the Boogeyman here, blooms off the rose, fair to say?
I think that, the bell never should have rung with Boogeyman. I think the Boogeyman is a tremendous attraction, a wonderful human being. And it just, there's only so much you can do with that character. It's not a character that you can have on every week or every month even. Good to come out certain spots and do some things, do some entertaining stuff. But after that, it needs a rest. You can't do Boogeyman every week. And I think that that's where the failure was. People didn't want to see, I'm the Boogeyman and I'm coming to get ya. It's all great. Played the role well, but there wasn't a whole lot after that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. Next up,
of course I'm right.
Something totally different. Chris Benoit and Chavo Guerrero for the U.S. title. They get 12 minutes and 14 seconds. Benoit is going to hit his 3 German suplexes, and later he's going to hit 8 in a row and then put on the sharpshooter. Vicky's going to run in with the title belt. Benoit's going to tell her not to hit him. So she makes a move. Benoit trips her, teases putting her in the sharpshooter, but he's hesitating in doing so. And that allows Chavo to come from behind with an O'Connor roll. And Benoit reverses the move into a cradle of his own. And then from there into the sharpshooter, and Guerrero taps out. 3 1/4 stars. And by the way, a really, really great match. And I understand a lot of people don't think they can enjoy a Chris Benoit match, and I get that. But the last couple of minutes of reversals here, I think you should go out of your way to see, Bruce. This is just so damn smooth, and a testament to not just Benoit, but Chavo Guerrero. I mean, this was a phenomenal finish.
Connie, how many times do I have to say it? There's a damn Guerrero in the match. It's going to be good.
No lies detected.
That Chavo Guerrero, he can go.
Next up, we've got Gregory Helms retaining the Cruiserweight title, pinning Wang Yang in an updated version of 3 Count versus the Young Dragons. 10 minutes and 51 seconds. Meltzer would say the crowd wasn't into this, even though they had a good match. JBL went crazy, ripping on the crowd, even acknowledging they were chanting boring. Helms dropped Yang's face on his knee and got the clean pin. Helms was bleeding badly from the mouth at the end of the match. JBL went off on the crowd again after the match. 3 stars. Wang Yang.
Was a good match, dude.
I do too. I think Wang Yang is criminally underrated. Everybody knows what we think of Hurricane.
He's a criminal.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that.
I like Jang Wang.
Of course, you couldn't really predict what was going to happen in that tag match, but if you knew, I mean, it does feel weird. We're starting with an Inferno match. Then we got this crazy ladder match. Then we got Worms. Then we got Chris Benoit. It's formatted a little weird. Can we agree?
No.
I just think I understand from a production standpoint, it's easier to have this Inferno match up front. But after we've seen guys get their fucking nose exploded and we set a motherfucker on fire, it's hard for me to get excited about a crippler crossface or a sharpshooter.
Well, again, man, I think that there's 2 kinds of people. There's roller coaster people and there's merry-go-round people. And I'm a roller coaster person. I like starting off at the highest point sometimes, and what you think is the highest point, taking the big dive, and then you're off on a ride from there. You don't know what's around the next corner. And then you end with a big finish. So, the merry-go-round, you get on, you know exactly what you're going to get. You go round and round, and your horse goes, or you get a stagnant one that doesn't move at all, and it's the same thing every time. So you're giving them different things. You're giving them ups and downs, and you're not giving them, a crazy ladder match for every match where they got to go, what the hell? A lot of variety and different stuff on this. So I like the lineup. I like the flow of it.
Next up, Undertaker and Mr. Kennedy in a last ride match. Meltzer would say again, little heat on this one as well. Undertaker was limited here because of his rib injuries. The match told a solid story of the Undertaker being beaten twice and arising from the dead each time. First, Kennedy got behind Undertaker and choked him out. He put Undertaker in the back of the hearse, but Undertaker stopped him from closing the door. Kennedy gave the Undertaker 6 chair shots to the back and a hard chair shot to the head, and the Undertaker sat up from that. They ended up brawling on the top of the set. Kennedy throws Undertaker off, but you could see it was a gimmick crash pad. There's a light holy shit chant, but the fall really didn't get the stunned reaction because everyone could see it was gimmicked. Kennedy put Undertaker in the back of the hearse and got in it to drive away, but when he got in the hearse, Undertaker, who had been dead when he was put in, had fully recovered. He gave Kennedy a chair shot to the head, and Kennedy juiced, and then followed with a tombstone on the roof of the hearse. Undertaker put Kennedy in the back of the hearse and drove off to end the match. 2.25 stars.
It's in the top 5 of my favorite hearse matches.
Boy, we got gimmicks on gimmicks on gimmicks here. Talk to me about the.
This just could have been gimmick Gardageddon.
Yeah, Gimmick-ageddon.
Gimmick-ageddon.
Chat me up though. The last ride is of course the name of the Undertaker's big power bomb, but now it's a hearse match. Who deserves the credit for thinking of a hearse match?
God, I have no idea. It sounds like a Michael. Hey, let's put him in a hearse or a hearse.
I could see that, a hearse.
Let's get one of them hearse girls and have a match right there. Like, wait a minute, you want to have a hearse match? Well, fuck, that's what I said. Dude. Maybe we could get Patty Hearst to come on and be like a referee.
What did you think of Kennedy and Undertaker, their chemistry together?
They really didn't have bad chemistry together. I thought that they worked pretty well together. And we were really hoping, this could be one of those breakouts for Kennedy, and it just never broke out.
How did they get along behind the scenes, Kennedy and Undertaker? I know.
Good. I mean, I don't remember there ever being a problem. I think that everybody liked Ken and wanted to help Ken get to the next level.
If you believe the rumor and innuendo, eventually that changed, where folks who, they had a different opinion of Ken. When did that happen? And why ultimately do you think it happened?
I wasn't there when that happened, and frankly, was a little shocked when I read it in that time frame. So I really don't know what happened. I don't know if Ken just fell out of favor or if people got to the point to where you're trying to take him to the promised land, but he can't cross the line. So I don't know. I really don't know what happened there.
It's a pretty big time match here that these guys are having. And I know it's a gimmick crash pad or whatever, but it's still a big spot. And then the tombstone on the hearse, bunch of chair shots. You're pulling out all the stops. And then you've got the worst segment on the show. It's billed as Santa Claus doing a naughty and nice diva lingerie contest with Jillian Hall, Ashley, Layla, and Crystal Marshall. And it's almost mind boggling how much of this stuff happened in this era. And Really, the audience is barely reacting to the women here in lingerie. Meltzer would say it was clearly designed for Ashley to win, since she's the one being pushed with her Playboy cover coming out. They let her wear the least amount of clothes and put her on in the cleanup position. Meltzer would say Hall isn't over at all, and Crystal, who has a freaky, phenomenal body, wore lingerie covering her up, basically eliminating her from the competition. And for some reason, they allowed Layla to wear a skimpy bikini outfit like Ashley, figuring Ashley is over, and she isn't. But they forgot Layla is a professional dancer who knows how to work a crowd. They also forgot to tell her to lose, so she blew away the field. And when Santa asked the audience to pick who won, they booed Hall and Marshall, who wore the least. However, Layla got twice the cheers of Ashley. Nevertheless, that didn't stop Michael Cole from proclaiming that the audience had picked Ashley in one of the more embarrassing moments. Santa Claus then said that everyone won. He took off his Santa outfit, and what do you know? It was Christopher DeJoseph doing the Big Dick Johnson act in his thong. He starts dancing. Crystal acts revolted, while Layla acts like she's having fun. And Meltzer says, I'm trying to figure out what this Big Dick Johnson character is supposed to appeal to. 65% of the audience is guys, and they're not into seeing naked, fat, dancing men. Well, at least most of them. 35% are women, and I'm not sure they'd go for them either. I sort of get the idea that it's meant as humor, but when nobody in the audience laughs, cheers, or really acts like anything but revolted, I'm not sure what it's accomplishing. It's gross, but not even all that gross, like eating worms, which we already got on the show. Phew, you unpack all that, and to me, it's like, I'm reminded of that old saying, audience of one. I bet Vince loved the Santa Claus with a thong on.
Not necessarily, but I did.
Well, I think it's just because you like Chris DeJoseph.
I do. And look, it was entertaining. You know, Jackass guys and Chris Pontius and those guys were doing all kinds of this shit, and there was an audience for it. And Chris was out unabashedly doing his thing, and it was fun. It was meant to be a let me up. It wasn't meant to be serious. And, in Tokyo Dome, it may have only gotten 9 stars, but, it was fun.
Well, now it's time for our main event. Batista.
The main event.
Batista and John Cena on one side, Fit Finlay and King Booker on the other. They go 11.5 minutes. Cena's going to be selling most of the way. The crowd is into Cena and Batista as being the big stars, but they don't seem to be in the match, at least not at the main event level. It was fine with Cena selling, but then he made the hot tag to Batista. Batista was messing up moves all over the place. He and Booker just can't work a good match together. Batista was working to the finish, but botched another spot. Finlay then hit Batista in the knee with a chair, apparently figuring he could sell and then go back to where they were supposed to be doing. Batista figured it was time for the finish, so he ignored that his knee was hit with a chair and used a spine buster, and Batista bomb on Booker for the pin. 1.25 stars. What's going on with Batista not being able to work with Booker and Finlay, do you think?
I just think that it was a clash of styles more than anything. And some guys can make beautiful music together and other guys can't. And I think that when it came to Booker and Batista, that there was a mental block there that they didn't have the chemistry.
Do you think they just didn't
had to work a certain way with it?
Do you think they weren't trusting of each other?
I think in the ring they were, but I just don't think they meshed. It really comes down to as simple as that. And when you get to Finlay, I think Finlay, you had to work Finlay style.
It is interesting to think about, this time here where Batista and Cena are the top guys, but Batista seemingly just does not click with these two opponents. And, the finish is something else, man. I mean, go back and watch it and you're going to be scratching your head a little bit. And I know the way we just laid this out, this doesn't necessarily feel like a great show, but it is a very memorable show. And the readers of the Wrestling Observer, as I said, 73% gave it a thumbs up. So it was a good show, but it just feels like to me, when I think back on this time, it still feels like a company very much in transition, trying to find their rhythm, trying to find their identity. Would I be off base in assuming that was the case?
No, I think that's pretty much on the button, because a lot of things are changing from the PG approach.
Yeah.
For advertisers, and just a whole new crop of talent.
The injury, of course, to Joey Mercury is what people are going to be talking about a lot. But it's not a bad show. And I mean, I still think I land on thumbs up. There's some good wrestling in here. We talked about Benoit's match and how much we enjoyed that. And the same thing with Hurricane's match. And then the spectacle of the ladder match, the spectacle of the Inferno match, as silly as it is. Maybe in hindsight, the whole Diva Lingerie, Krista Joseph thing, maybe could have done without that.
You know, you loved it.
Let's do some fan questions here. Push Wrath, whatever that means, wants to know, when MVP debuted back then, did you ever expect him to still be an important figure on TV 15 years later? Bruce, in your opinion, what makes MVP such a good personality for WWE?
I think it's a chance to evolve and change, and it's that character has grown. So he has changed and he has evolved through the years, and has the aptitude to do so.
Lindsay writes, William Regal pretended to be afraid of heights. Was anyone actually afraid to climb ladders in a ladder match?
Almost everyone in a ladder match, yes. I mean, Regal didn't like heights. Big Show didn't like heights. Flair didn't like heights. I don't think, you name it. A lot of guys didn't like climbing those ladders. I climbed one just to show, hey, man, I can do it. And I got up to the fourth rung, and I was like, yeah, no, you know what? Fuck this. It's scary up there. I mean, come on, it's scary. And people are bouncing around and shit. It takes a great deal of skill to navigate the ladders, navigate those waters when there's a billion things happening around you.
Instagram a wrestling historian wants to know, how was MVP protected from getting seriously burned? He covered himself in jail.
We went to not get seriously burned us and shit, and we're able to take care of him.
Nick wants to know, Armageddon 06 is one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time. Bruce, can you provide any insight as to how this card got so stacked with gimmick matches?
I think that when we found ourselves at the end of the year looking at how a lot of times the pay-per-view attractions towards the end of the year didn't always perform. So there was a bit of an emphasis on gimmick matches and doing things different at this point of the game to try to attract people, maybe have more gimmicks in it, you know, and eventually you would get to everything being themed, but that was more the reason than anything.
Steve wants to know, how did Chris Benoit feel about being involved in the Chavo Vicky storylines? Knowing how Eddie's death affected him, was it a personal struggle for him and he was just doing what was asked of him, or was he able to separate the two?
I think that he was able to work with Chavito and Vicky, and you know, it was as if Eddie was still there, and being able to work with them gave it a comfort and a normal feeling.
Well, next week, Bruce, we're going to be doing something a little different. Instead of going back 15 years, we're going back 25 years. One of my favorite pay-per-views that was seemingly a B show. I still enjoy it. It's In Your House, It's Time. It's the pay-per-view that's named after Vader that Vader's not even on. Bret Hart, coming off of his return in Survivor Series, will be here taking on the newly crowned world champion, Psycho Sid. The Undertaker is going to take on the Executioner in an Armageddon rules match. So this is a rare opportunity to see the Undertaker wrestle Bam Bam Gordy here in the WWF. Hunter Hearst Helmsley will defend his Intercontinental Championship against Mark Marrow. Steve Austin's going to attack the British Bulldog before his tag title match with Owen Hart against, of course, the fake Diesel and the fake Razor. Or as you say, just Razor and Diesel.
Well, it's just Razor and Diesel.
Plus we got Flash Funk, the former Too Cold Scorpio, taking on Leif Cassidy, who we know as Al Snow.
He's super funky.
It's going to be a good show, man. I really like this one. I don't know why I like it so well, but anything the end of 96 is just my jam. West Palm Beach, Florida. Any good West Palm Beach stories we're going to hear next week?
None we can tell.
Oh, I got to
hear
hear
what?
that.
One time, my brother Tom and I was kind of at the end of my rope, and I think he was at the end of his rope, and we were both kind of just burnt out. And we did the Girls tour. And we went to the Dollhouse in Fort Lauderdale. They got girls. And we hit all of the clubs that they mentioned in that song pretty much on A1A in West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, Boca. And we had us a hell of a week. But we did a sampling of the establishments that were mentioned in the girls music video.
Did you have a favorite?
Song. Do we what?
Did you have a favorite?
Probably the Dollhouse, just because it was the Dollhouse. Well, we did. We had a good week, man. We ate some great seafood, and it was a week where we just laughed until we hurt, like all day. It was just we did stupid shit and just tried to bust each other up, and it was just so much fun.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, me and you. You know, it's been a crazy ride. 5 years and 300 episodes later, Bruce. Here we are getting ready for. I know, right? Can you believe it?
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought we just started doing this.
Well, it feels like we did.
Okay.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Hey, you know what? We got to give a shout out to Pat McAfee again, because I busted his chops and he gave us a shout out. And so this time I'm making him wait and listen all the way to the end of the show before we give him a say, "Hey, Pat."
How is Pat doing?
Pat's awesome, man. Pat's awesome. He just donated a bunch of money to his high school.
Oh, that's cool, man.
He's a wonderful guy.
Well, I'll tell you what, he makes SmackDown a whole lot more fun. He's doing a great job, and I hope everybody checks out his show as well. And Bruce, next week, man, In Your House, number 12, December.
My house is still being remodeled. They're tearing it up downstairs.
You want to catch us up on that?
Man, there's not much to catch up other than I don't have any lights in the basement. So when I come home at 4:00 in the morning and I pull in, and I've got to use my flashlight on my phone to find the stairs and things like that.
That's less than ideal.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see, because they're supposed to come in. They're supposed to put lights in this week, and then we go to Mexico, and I'm gone. And I'm leaving the house in charge of the people that are going to be here at the house. That's going to be interesting in and of itself.
Are you going to Mexico for work, or is this the old house gimmick that we talked about?
This is the old Connie house gimmick.
Man, I'm disappointed that you get the last shot there and not me. But I hope you have fun.
Well, you got the first shot.
Dude, it was like our favorite little vacation spot, and now poof, you're the last tenant. That sucks, dude.
Yeah, well, sorry.
But it doesn't suck talking about old wrestling with you. We'll be back talking all things 1996 next week. I just love that era. And we want your questions, man. If you've got a question for us, fire them off over on Twitter. It's at Prichard Show. You can also catch Something to Wrestle on YouTube. That's the best way to introduce the wrestling fan in your life to the show. And Bruce, I'm fired up, man. 1996. It's my favorite era to discuss wrestling, and we're doing it again next week.
Can't wait.
We'll see you sooner rather than later, right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
Rock on.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.